Guy, seems like a no-brainer, I would say, for the president to do because, let's rattle the cage and get the guy we want to run, and that would be Trump. I'm sorry, Governor Abbott, rather, with re-election in Texas. So what do you think about this? It makes sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And, if you look at it across the board, voters are ready for a Republican takeover. President Trump, for example, is coming to Pennsylvania tonight. He's speaking in Scranton, Joe Biden's fake hometown, as I like to say. And he knows that Pennsylvania is such a battleground state, and we need to pick up some seats here. We have the chance to beat Matt Cartwright in Scranton. He's far too left for that district. We got a great candidate in Jim Bognett. We can very likely pick up the Conor Lamb seat outside of Pittsburgh. We can also pick up the seat in downtown Pittsburgh with a great candidate called Mike Doyle. So there's a lot of pickup opportunities for the House. And of course, it's so important for us to hold the Senate in Pennsylvania as well. And that's why President Trump is focusing so much on Pennsylvania and coming here tonight.
So, okay, Trump in this speech in Pennsylvania, right? You had Biden last week constantly attacking Trump. And by the way, how does it feel to be a white supremacist? I didn't ask you that, AKA a Republican. I'm sorry. But, in Biden's world, you, me, I'm a Republican. I guess we're all tainted and radioactive. That's really what he's trying to do. When you watched that speech the other night, were you as enraged as I was, or were you just kind of rolling your eyes?
Yeah, I was both. Put it this way, I was irritated and I was really disappointed in the presidency because what we saw on that stage was not something you would expect from an American president. It had an aura of authoritarianism. It had the aura of a police state with that blood red background, the Marines standing at attention. And then my other takeaway was just the fact that Biden stood there and he demonized half of the country, saying that, like you were saying before, launching those accusations at all the Republicans that voted for President Trump. Biden likes to pretend like this is a small sliver of the American population. It's not. 75 million Americans came to the polls and voted for the MAGA agenda. And when Joe Biden sits there and talks about extremism on the part of Republicans are not the ones engaged in extremism. It's extreme to try to pack the Supreme Court. It's unconstitutional to try to bring in D.C. as a state. It's extreme. It's foolish to cut off our energy supply and make us dependent on foreign oil when under President Trump, we were energy independent. It's absolutely extreme to surrender the Bagram Air Base and surrender Afghanistan after we had 0 fatalities in the last 18 months leading up to the surrender. It's also a disaster. It's also extreme what we're doing on the southern border, where we basically have an open border policy. So Biden is taking a page out of the playbook of Marxist-Leninists, and that is you accuse others of what you yourself are doing. He's trying to deflect. He's trying to shift blame because Biden can't stand on that stage and talk about any of his wins. There are no wins. He can't talk about crime rates going down. They're going up. He can't talk about an improving economy. Inflation is at a 40-year high. He can't talk about wins on the international stage because the war in Ukraine drags on. China is getting more aggressive. Iran is getting closer and closer to a nuclear weapon. And we are no longer respected to the extent we were under President Trump. So instead of taking ownership of that, Biden has to stand on the stage and revert back to Hillary Clinton style of calling Republicans deplorables, Barack Obama style of saying that Republicans are desperate clingers. It's not what you'd expect from the president. It's incredibly divisive.
Deplorable seems like the good old days. I mean, it's incredible how just angry he was. And the louder he spoke, the more angry the tone. And, I don't know what you think it'll be like in your district, but I'm wondering just nationwide, where do you see that kind of speech? Obviously going to galvanize the Democrats. That's what it was meant to do. But where do you think the independents, the suburban women, if you will, where do you think they're going to land in something like this, watching that if they did?
So the independent voters are by and large voting, and swing voters are by and large voting on economic issues. So Biden knows that he's losing on those economic issues. Of course, the economy is in a tailspin right now. We're in a technical recession. So what you saw Biden doing in that speech is, just like you were saying, he's trying to drum up support with the base. because for the Democrats not to lose as badly as I think they're going to lose, they need to make sure they have a phenomenal get out the vote operation. So they need to energize their base. And they do that by talking about issues that their hardcore radical base cares about. The Green New Deal, January 6th, abortion on demand. The problem for them that they're finding themselves in is the more they talk about those extremist issues and extremist positions, they're alienating the swing voters that they also need, because those folks are being pushed further and further to the Republicans. That's why we have 55%, for example, of the Hispanic vote heading into this election. So the Biden administration, the Democrats know that they're in a predicament. They're in a predicament because the far left radical policies they've put in place have been a disaster, both in terms of domestic policy, economic policy, and foreign affairs as well.
Congressman, you got your terrible towel out. Good luck with your Steelers this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.